Welcome to Project 8 of our project-based Microsoft Office with ChatGPT and Gemini course. In these lessons, we'll build a product pricing sheets that automatically calculates prices, discounts, and total cost powered by smart AI or Excel formulas and AI assistants. So by the end of this project, you will learn how to use sum, if, XLOOKUP, text, and date functions, and how to make them even more powerful using ChatGPT or Gemini to write, explain, and fix formulas. So let's get started. First, let's open up the Microsoft Excel, or you can open up the Google Sheet and create a new workbook. So let's go to, and we have now the new workbook. So now let's name it and let's use the first, and now let's make it the save it, and let's say we're gonna save it over here, or let's go with our documents and let's name it something the product, lay the pricing sheet. Okay, so like these ones pricings, or like the pricing sheets over there, and now save it. Okay, so now let's set up the columns. So in the A columns, so let's say this is the product, let's say the product ID, and in the column B, let's say we're gonna name it the product name, something like this way. And in column C, so let's say the base price, let's type here the base price, and column D, let's say the discount. Okay, so let's use it the discounts and make it the percentage. And column E, let's say the final, so if I'm gonna go to final price over here. And in the F, so let's use the date added. Okay, so like these ones. So now we can just make it the auto fit over here, and I'm gonna make it with the formatted or make it the bold as the headers. And in the first rows, so now let's enter the simple data, like if I'm gonna say, and like this is the product ID, let's and say the 001, and if I'm gonna make it like the 002 or like the 3s over here, so let's say the product name, if I'm gonna say the wireless, and or if I'm gonna use the wireless mouse, so like these ones, and let's say this is the keyboard, something like this one. And let's say if I'm gonna say the headphones. Okay, so that's it. And the best price, let's say 1500, and the next one, let's say the 2000s, and let's say the 2500s, these prices. And if I'm gonna say the discounts, let's say the 10%, if I'm gonna say the 15%, and let's say this is kind of the 5%. Okay, and also we'll calculate the final price automatically using the formulas. And let's begin with something simple, adding up all your base price using the sum functions. So if I type here, like if I'm gonna type into the over here, so let's say, or if I'm gonna go to over here, or let's say this is the equal, then let's say the sum functions, and let's say the, or like, or if I'm gonna, or like here the base prices over here, so let's say the sum functions, and let's say the C2 C4, or like the something like that, there's one, or let's go with the here the C2 C4 plus with the parentheses. So this gives you the totals of all base prices. You can also ask ChatGPT or the Gemini. Okay, so if I gonna now, or before that, so here I have, it gives us these formulas. So now let's move into the browsers, or if I'm gonna use the Gemini, so let's go to, or you can open up the ChatGPT to work on like the AI assistants. So let's say if I'm gonna type or write an Excel, let's say the formula, and to or sum up something like the values in column. So let's also specify the column and see from row 2 to 4. Okay, so now if I gonna just copy it like this one, copy it, and I just work with over here. So and it will suggest the same formula plus explain how it works. Like here the C2 C4, so this formula use the sum functions which adds all the numbers in specific range of cells. The range like C2 C4 tells to include C2 C3 and C4 in the calculations. If I use the same things in the ChatGPT, so let's say, and let's see how it will works. So like the same one, if I gonna paste over here, and now let's try to find out the, or here is gives here the same functions and explanations like the, it's defined the range C2 C3 and C4, and sum adds all the values within that range. Okay, so and that's it. So with the AI assistant, so you can get the same result. So this is how AI can help you learn and understand formulas faster. Okay, so next let's add logic to calculate discounted price using the if functions. So let's move into the over here. So here we have used the first one is the sum functions. So this is, and here, and now or we want to use the if functions in like cell E2, type with the equal, or type this formula, and let's say the if, and parenthesis, let's say if D2 is greater than 0, and let's say the C2 or negatives, let's say the parenthesis, and say the C2 multiplications with here the D2, and let's say divisions by or divide by 100, and let's close it. And now let's use the, for if false we want to say the C2. Okay, close to the parenthesis, and here this means if there's a discount, subtract the discounts from the base cap price, otherwise keep the base price as it is. Okay, so now we have got this result. So now drag this formula down for all products. Okay, so and that's it over here. Or now you can also ask AI like this, so or ChatGPT. So if I gonna go to over here, and let's say if I say the right n, and if I say the if formula, so let's go with the formula that applies a percentage, let's say the percentage, or over here, or let's percentage discount only if the discount values is greater than, so let's say the greater than 0. Okay, so like this one. So now I just copy for the ChatGPT, and now let's press it, and now it's working. So and here it said I can certainly help you with that. So here is a standard Excel if formulas. So here an you'd or formula structure you would use. So this formula A2 is contain the original price of values, and B2 contain the discounts percentage, like enter the 0.15 for the 15%. So and that's it. So here you can now see these results. So as we use into the over here, so this is it comes with the same result. Okay, so now if I gonna now go to the X or into the ChatGPT, let's paste it the same one, press the enter. Now it's also provide the same results. So whatever you got into the over here. Okay, so and that's it. So AI not only writes the correct formula but can also explain it line by line, so helping you master conditional logic quickly. Okay, so and that's it. So now let's make our pricing sheet smarter by allowing product lookup. So if I'm gonna go to again, and also in the another section, say let's say the H1 or H1 to H3, and if I gonna go to over here, or let's say if I say, so this is the enter, or if I gonna go to the enter the product ID, so let's go with the product ID, and in the or here let's say the product name, and the next one is, so let's say the final price. Okay, so that's it. So now in the here, if I or we gonna make it the bold all of them, and now we want to use something like product. If I gonna say the product ID is 00 or let's say the 2, so now use the XLOOKUP functions to find the product details. So in the I2, so let's type with the equal, then let's say the XLOOKUP functions, and let's say the lookup value, we are looking for the product or product ID like P002, and the next one is the lookup array. Okay, so let's say lookup array is, we're gonna use the or like A2 A4, and the next one is the return array, we want to find the product name, so over here, and the next one is if not found, we want to mention so not found. Okay, so like this one, close it with the parenthesis, and that's it. So here got it the results like the keyboard, so according to over here, and in the here let's say the I3, so let's use again the XLOOKUP functions to find out the final prices. So let's say lookup value is with the product ID, so let's go it over here, and let's say the lookup array, so let's go to with the these ones these times, so let's say the return array, we are looking for the final price. Okay, so these ones, and if not found, we want to find or mentions here not found. Okay, close it and then hit on the OK. So now when you enter an product ID in like the or I1, Excel automatically retypes its names and the final price. So if I'm gonna say instead of the 2, so let's say if I use the 3, so here it's changed the product name and also the final price. And if I'm gonna now say this is, if I'm gonna say the product 1, and here we also get the different names, product names, and also the final price. If you ask Gemini or the ChatGPT, so you can ask something like, if I'm gonna go to again the Gemini, and let's say if I'm gonna use the how can I use XLOOKUP to fit a product, or we can say the product price, and based on, and let's say the an id. Okay, so like the this one, then so they will not, or like if I gonna go to and if I use it over here, so they will not only generate the formulas but also explain the arguments, lookup values, lookup arrays, returns arrays, making it also the crystals clear. Okay, so like here you have like the this one, let's use here we have the actions over here, and you want to enter id, you searchings like over here. So this is the simple examples, like the d2, the lookup value, this is the product id you are trying to find, this is where you type id you are looking up, and this is like the or a to a thousand or 100, the lookup array, this is the column containing all the products ids. Xlookup will search this range for a mesh to have a value like d2. So this is the similar what we have worked in the excel. Okay, so and that's it. And also you can use the same questions. So if I'm gonna make it also the copy, or if I'm gonna copy or ask the chat gpt, so it will be gives also the same or similar answers, or also the formulas, so and also the explanations. Okay, so and we have to like the these data sets and the more explanations in there. Okay, so and that's it. And in the date, or let's move into the excel, and in the date edit columns, let's automatically insert today's date in a readable format. So in the f2, so let's say the text, and the next one is let's say the today's date. And the another thing is, so let's use format the text, or format the text we want to display. So let's use the day, and let's say the month, and the last one is, so let's say the year, and close with the parenthesis. So this formula uses so today's to get the current date, and text to also for to format it as the some things like we have got like the these ones. And if I'm gonna or let's close with the quotations, and that's is we have the result. Okay, so like the 12th October 2025. Okay, so the very simple, or if I'm gonna use something like the this way, and that's it we have. And if you want to add custom date, you can use this something like if you're gonna go to the date, and now let's use the parenthesis, and let's say the 2025, the year, and the month, let's say the, or if I'm gonna go to like the 10, and let's say the 12, close with the parenthesis, and that's it we have this result. You can even ask ChatGPT something like, let's go to over here, and let's say we want to ask ChatGPT something like rate and excel formula to show today's, let's say the today's date in day, and let's say the month, and let's say the year format. Okay, so the format over here, and AI will also give you the correct formulas and explain why also the text is used for the formatting. Okay, so you can use the formula to display, and we have already used in there, and you can get this one the similar into our excel. Okay, so here's where AI really shines. And if you for or if a formula gives an error, or you are not sure what it means, copy and paste into the ChatGPT or Gemini, and also you can ask like explain this formula in simple terms, or you can say why is my if function showing, and also the error functions in there, and you will get clear explanations step by steps, often with examples or corrections. Okay, so this turns AI into your personal Excel, also the tutors. Now let's bring everything together. So if I'm gonna go to again, and we will design a small calculator sections for quick price or estimations. So if I'm gonna go to the new sheets, and let's say, so this is the input, so let's go to, and let's say, so this is the value, and here if I'm gonna say this is the base price something, and say the discount, and the next one is, so let's say the final car, let's say the price. Okay, so that's it. And if you use like the over here, so, and if I gonna go to, or let's use, this is the ball, and if I gonna make it the 2000s, and let's say the discounts is the 50%, and let's also correct it with the percentage, and the next one is the final we want to use, and in the final price cells we want to use the if functions. Then let's say the if or b3, or like here the, if I'm gonna say the b3 is greater than, or here the 0, then we gonna want to use the b2 negatives, let's say, and use the parenthesis, and let's say the b2 is multiplications with the b3, and division or divided by the 0 for the percentage, or the 100, and let's close it with the b2. Okay, and so now you have a mini calculator that's instantly updates where or when you change values, and add a titles borders, and use currency formatting for a clean professionals looks. Okay, so, and here if I'm gonna say the base price, if I'm gonna say the, let's say the 3000, and here we have the, that's one discounts, that if I'm gonna make it something the 5%, and here we have got the final prices over here. So your pricing calculator is ready, automated, accurate, and AI powered. So you have, or this is your great job. You have just built an automated product prices pricing sheets, like using key Excel formulas like sum, if, XLOOKUP, text, and date, and enhance you're working with ChatGPT and Gemini. So you now know how to use uh, or use AI and write and explain formulas, automate pricing's logic, and create a dynamics lookup based on or based calculators. So in the next project, we'll take automate or automations a step further, building a sales dashboard with live charts and insight powered by AI. See you there.